I'm giving you guys the top 10 best meta class setups in Modern Warfare 3, but I'm doing it a little bit differently this time. We're actually going to start out with snipers because I feel like snipers don't get enough love. So the first thing I'm going to show you guys is the longbow. This is the best sniper in the game, undisputably. Start out with the FSS OV laser for aiming stability, aim down sight speed, and sprint to fire speed at the cost of some laser being visible in ADS. Put on the nose stock for sprint to fire speed, movement speed, aim walking speed, and aim down sight speed at the cost of recoil control, aiming out of sway, flinch resistance, and hip fire spread. You're not going to notice any of that. This thing has 0 recoil. Put on the 10 round magazine. I know you guys can't resist using the 30 round for gear like 10 on screen, but trust me, this is all you need. It helps with aim down sight speed, sprint to fire speed, aim walking speed, and reload quickness at the cost of magazine ammo capacity. This is the most important thing. 7.62 high grain rounds. Put on this for bullet velocity and damage range at the cost of recoil control, which you will not notice. Last thing is the X10 Phantom 5 hand stop for sprint to fire speed, aim down sight speed, vertical recoil, and gun kick control at the cost of hip fire attack, stand spread, horizontal recoil. Believe me, you won't notice. This is the best possible setup right here, so make sure you guys copy this class down. It's absolutely busted. Next, I'm giving you 2 blasts from the past. These are 2 Modern Warfare 2 weapons that are meta in Modern Warfare 3. So this is the Lockman sub. Put on the XRK Edge BW4 hand stop for aim walking speed, movement speed, aim down sight speed, and sprint to fire speed at the cost of aim walking steadiness and hip fire and attack stance spread. 9mm high grain rounds for bullet velocity and damage range at the cost of recoil control. 40 round magazine because 60 is way too much. It is just going to be too detrimental. More RIL 33 laser light for aim walking steadiness, aim down sight speed, sprint to fire speed, and attack stance spread at the cost of flashlight and laser being visible in enemies is not a big deal. Last but not least, FT mobile stock for aiming out of sway, aim down sight speed at the cost of hip fire, attack stance spread, recoil control, sprint speed, and gun kick control, which is not noticeable. This SMG is absolutely one of the best SMGs in the game and rivals literally any SMG you put it up against. Next is the TAC 56. This thing is absolutely amazing. You guys have to try it out because it just absolutely shreds in pubs. Put on the RF Crown 50 for recoil control and gun kick control at the cost of aim down sight speed and aiming out of sway. 17.5 Tundra Pro Barrel for bullet velocity and range and hip fire accuracy at the cost of hip recoil control, aim down sight speed, and hip fire and attack stance spread. 5.56 high velocity for bullet velocity. Now, if you want to use NATO high grain rounds, feel free to do that because it also helps with bullet velocity, but it takes away from recoil control. So whichever you choose, completely up to you. 40 round mag. I mean, this is just self-explanatory. Don't use 60. This isn't Warzone. This is multiplayer, so you don't really need 60 bullets. It's just going to slow you down way too much. And last but not least, TV Cardinal stock for aim, walking speed, and sprint speed at the cost of aiming out of sway. This is the best possible setup for the TAC 56, and you guys have to use it in pubs. Just give it a try. I know you guys are going to love it. Holger 556. This is probably the best thing I discovered. Like, this setup is going to absolutely destroy in the battlefield. Start out with the VT7 Spirit Fire Suppressor for being undetectable by radar, recoil control, bullet velocity, and damage range at the cost of some aim down sight speed, aim walking steadiness, and sprint to fire speed. Throw on the 5.56 NATO high grain rounds for bullet velocity and damage range at the cost of some recoil control, which you will not notice. 40 round mag because it's just the best possible choice. If you want to use 20, feel free. If you're playing, say, like Search and Destroy, you want to reload quick and have all your movement and, you know, stability and all that, you'll be good to go. RB Edible Assault stock for recoil control and gun kick control at the cost of some aim down sight speed. And last but not least, Mark III Reflector. This is my personal preference. If you don't want to use the sight, feel free. If you want to use any other sight, also feel free. We're not just aiming for headshots. This thing still melts incredibly fast. In fact, it takes little or no effort to actually use this weapon. I actually do believe this is the strongest weapon in Modern Warfare 3 right now, just overall. It may have the overall best TTK, and it's just an absolute menace to society. 3-shot kill at minimum from basically every range. From super far range, obviously like a 4-shot kill, but like this thing is absolutely deadly, especially if you're getting all headshots. So make sure you guys are using this build. This build is so good. Make sure you're copying it down. If you made it this far in the video, just comment Holger. I would appreciate that. The Wasp Swarm, this thing is absolutely insane, and one of my subscribers actually kind of put me onto it. So we're going to start out with the Sonic Suppressor S for being undetectable by radar, bullet velocity and damage range at the cost of aim, walking steadiness, sprint to fire speed, and recoil control. Then put on the Wasp Reckless 90 long barrel for bullet velocity and range, aiming, idle sway, gun kick control, and recoil control at the cost of aim down sight speed, hip fire and attack stance spread, aim, walking speed, and sprint to fire speed. Put on the Brune Heavy Support Grip for gun kick control, aiming, idle sway, horizontal recoil, and firing aim stability at the cost of aim down sight speed and vertical recoil. Put on the 100 round drum. Now I know some of you guys are gonna be like, wait, trust me, the 100 round drum is the way to go. You don't need anything else other than this. I know it shows a reduction of movement speed, aim down sight speed, reload quickness, and sprint to fire speed, but I didn't notice the difference between 50 and 100. The difference is basically negligible, so you might as well put on that 100. Last thing is the FSS Rampage gauge VII tactical. I'm guessing that's 7 tactical for aim down sight speed, aiming out of sway, and firing aim stability at the cost of aim walking speed and movement speed. This thing is absolutely amazing for short and medium range. It really gets the job done so easily. It's actually one of my favorite SMGs in the game right now. In fact, I feel like this build is just as amazing in Warzone, so please try this out. If you have not used this SMG yet, it's absolutely busted, and this is the entire class setup. If you guys need to take a screenshot or anything, now's the best time because you're going to be slaying in public matches. Next, I'm going to give you guys the best assault rifle in Modern Warfare 3, and that is the MCW. So we're going to start out with the 16.5 MCW Cyclone Long Barrel for bullet velocity and range, aiming out of sway and firing aim stability at the cost of attack stance spread, hip fire spread, and aim walking speed. Put on the 5.59 NATO high grain rounds for bullet velocity and damage range at the cost of recoil control, which you will not notice. Put on the 60 round drum because between this and 40, it's just not much of a difference. So make sure you have that 60 on there so you get as many bullets off as possible. Put on the RB Claw PSL grip for firing aim stability, gun kick control, and recoil control at the cost of aiming out of sway, which you won't even notice. The last thing I put on there is the Mark III reflector, but if you want to use the Slate, the Niter, anything else, completely your preference. This thing is absolutely amazing. Despite any sort of nerf they try to do, any sort of update they do, this thing is just absolutely the best assault rifle, just overall for no recoil, very easy to use, very beginner friendly. Like anybody can pick this gun up and just do an absolutely amazing job. So make sure you guys are using this. You guys will have a fantastic time. And here is the class setup if you guys want to screenshot this. If you made it this far, comment I made it. Some of you guys are going to be confused when you look at the comment section and don't get this far, so make sure you're there. Number 3 is a fan favorite SMG, the Striker. Now you guys need to have this class because I think it's personally one of the best SMGs next to the Wasp Swarm. Start out with the Sonic Suppressor S for being undetectable by radar, bullet velocity and damage range at the cost of aim, walking, steadiness, sprint to fire speed, and recoil control. Put on the Striker Recon Long Barrel for bullet velocity and range and aiming idle sway at the cost of hip fire and attack stance spread, sprint to fire speed, and aim walking speed. Put on the .45 auto high grain rounds for no enemy skulls, bullet velocity, and damage range at the cost of recoil control. Put on the 60 round drum. If you want to use 48, completely your choice, just get a little less of the cons, but I think that 60 is worth it and it'll get the job done. Last thing is the RB Critalis Assault Stock for gun kick control, aim down sight speed, and sprint to fire speed. Now if you want to use no stock, completely up to you, you'll get more movement, but in my opinion, I think the Critalis is a fantastic balance of recoil control and movement. And here's the end product right here. In my opinion, it's just super easy and amazing to use. The only downside is long range. You might not be able to spray as easily, so that's something you have to really consider. But short and medium range is just fantastic. As you guys see, it just absolutely melts. And I guess if you try to control the recoil a little bit more, that long range battle will be a little bit easier. So make sure you guys have this class setup down if you haven't already. Make sure you screenshot this or copy it down in your game if you have the game on right now. This thing is absolutely amazing, and for being a silenced weapon, it just absolutely shreds. Next, I have to give you guys a crazy meta, and that is the Rival 9. This thing is probably one of the fastest killing SMGs in the game. In fact, I would compare it to the Wasp Swarm because this thing possibly kills faster. Start out with the L4R flash hider for muzzle flash concealment, recoil control, and gun kick control at the cost of some aim down sight speed, which you will not notice. Put on the 9mm high grain rounds for bullet velocity and damage range at the cost of some recoil control. Put on the 40 round mag. I don't think 50 is necessary. It does have a little bit more cons. In fact, I notice it a little bit more with 50 than I do with 40. So I think 40 is a sweet spot, but if you want to be 50, then be my guest. I feel like you're gonna have more cons. Put on the Rival Vice Assault Grip for gun kick control, firing aim stability, and recoil control at the cost of aiming out of sway. And last but not least, put on the MTZ Marauder Stock for gun kick control, aiming out of sway, and firing aim stability at the cost of aim walking speed, movement speed, hip fire and attack stance spread, and sprint to fire speed. This gun is absolutely amazing. It takes very little effort to use, and the beautiful thing is it actually has very little recoil too. Now, if I didn't have stick drift, I would show you guys just how amazing it is with the long range engagements, but just basically, as you guys see, this thing does not move. And if you have no stick drift, you're going to be just absolutely melting the enemies, especially long range. It'll get the job done without moving. So make sure you guys copy this class down. This Rival 9 is possibly the best SMG. I would darn near say almost assault rifle in the game. So make sure you copy this class down. If you made it this far, I want you guys to comment wow. Just comment wow and put the timestamp if you want to for added effect for people that have not made it this far in the video. Now the last thing, which is one of my favorite weapons in the game just overall because of how deadly it is, the DG58. I actually dropped a nuke in Search and Destroy with the DG58. So if you guys want to see that, just comment nuke in the comment section down below and I'll give you guys that nuke. It's 2 nukes in Search and Destroy now, so we're going to get right into it. Start out with the DG56 LS18 18 barrel for bullet velocity and range, aiming out of sway, gun kick control, and recoil control at the cost of hip fire and tac stance spread, movement speed, aim walking speed, and sprint to fire speed. Put on the Kimura Rin 03 vertical grip for gun kick control, vertical recoil, aiming out of sway, and firing aim stability at the cost of horizontal recoil, sprint to fire speed, and aim down sight speed. Put on the 5.56 NATO high grain rounds for bullet velocity and range at the cost of some recoil control, which you will not notice. Put on the 40 round mag unless you think you can handle 60, but I don't think 60 is necessary for multiplayer. I think 40 is a sweet spot, and you'll be able to take out all the enemies before having to reload. Mark III reflector is my personal preference, but you can use whatever you want to, whether it's the niter, the slate, or no sight whatsoever. You can use whatever you want to, but this is my personal preference. And show you guys how amazing this is. Make sure when you guys are firing this that you guys don't have the manual fire set to hold, because it's just gonna shoot slower. Like, I know it feels like kind of a cheat code in Warzone, but just overall, you wouldn't be able to shoot this as fast as you can. And when you set it to hold, this is what your fire rate basically looks like. It looks like this. And you want to be able to shoot fast like this. This is what you want to be able to shoot like. So make sure you copy this class down, and this is the top 5 meta loadouts in Modern Warfare 3. You guys need to try this out, and typically I'll use this class setup right here for essentially everything. If I'm playing, let's say, Search and Destroy. If I'm not playing Search and Destroy, just throw on Scavenger. Comms Vest is amazing because you basically get a radar ping for every kill that you get. And to those that need a really good secondary, this is the only one you'll absolutely need. It's the Retti. Now, this thing is absolutely insane. It can work as a primary gun. Throw on the HM Res Mod Suppressor XS for undetectable by radar and bullet velocity at the cost of some recoil control. The Mark II Retti long barrel for bullet velocity and range at the cost of aiming out on sway. Throw on the 9mm high grain rounds for bullet velocity and some damage range. 50 round drum, because for whatever reason this gives you better stats than this. So I don't know, I genuinely don't know why, but you get better stats with the 50 round drum than you do with the 30. If someone can explain why in the comment section, I would greatly appreciate that. Last but not least, the F-Tac Sadist folding stock for allowing tac stance, which doesn't matter. The big thing is the gun kick control. 3 arrows, which are absolutely amazing and absolutely essential. And as you guys see, this is one of the best weapons in the game just overall. Like, the fact that this basically works as a primary weapon in multiplayer is absolutely devastating. Just 2 bursts from short and medium range, and probably about 3 bursts long range if you actually hit all your shots. It's just freaking freak of nature.